Hello, welcome to the Daily Depression Crew, where we talk about the Great Depression. I'm Austin Wolf, the best host here. Here are my co-hosts, Max Begley and Santiago Bishel.
The second best host.
Yes. Today, we have an interesting show for you. The National Youth Administration, that Max is going to present, National Recovery Administration, presented by yours truly, and the Public Works Administration, presented by Santiago. But first, a message from our sponsor. This depression has been depressing. But thanks to Starbucks, we're able to come into work in the early hours of the morning that nobody watches because you're all asleep. And we have no budget. But at least we have the sponsor from Starbucks to help pay the bills and get paid for this. Now, Max, would you like to start us off?
Yes, I'll give you a basic rundown of the National Youth Administration and their achievements. The National Youth Administration was a huge success as it paid our youth $6 to $40 for work-study projects at their schools. And another 155,000 boys and girls from relief families were paid $10 to $25 a month. I love how the National Youth Administration works because it is already much better than the civilian conservation groups that are already in place, as it also pays women as well as men. The National Youth Administration was a huge success as it developed it helped over 4.5 million Americans find jobs or receive vocational training. They also helped our youth afford higher means of education. And now the economic adversity that threatened to diminish our country has been diminished. Thanks to the National Youth Administration, we will succeed.
Very good. Santiago, your thoughts on the National Youth Administration? Was it a success? Was it a failure? Maybe it was a little too expensive? What do you think?
You know, it seems like it costed a lot, and I mean, did the people pay for it, or did the government pay for it?
The government paid for it.
Okay, well, I mean, if I was a civilian and the government paid for it, I wouldn't be mad, but the government, it's costing more money. It seems successful at the start, maybe a little at the finish, but not really. It's kind of like,
Well, I believe that it really helped us as it helped us reestablish our economy, and it got that system working again rather than
destroying it.
Destroying it, yes.
Okay, yeah, I see your point.
This is a great discussion. However, we are pressed for time because budget. So, we'll move on to the PWA.
Alright. The PWA. In recent years, the Great Depression was one of the most catastrophic things that happened in the U.S. We are standing on our own 2 feet again. The PWA helped with an individual basis. It simply did not help with employing enough people to put a recognizable dent in the unemployment rate. This including tens of millions of people without jobs. Here's a quote from Larry Harkovich. There are large groups of residents that think differently and are there to help us out. And we are proud to live and work in this town. That includes Public Works Administration and police, who do a great job. It is time for you to come, step up, be heard, and try to help our town. The upside of the PWA is it was meant to give people jobs, and Roosevelt thought that the PWA wouldn't have to pay itself in revenues. The PWA is known as a make-work program, meaning it keeps people employed.
Interesting. Right. So the PWA. Max Begley, your thoughts on the PWA?
My thoughts on the PWA, I think that it was a success. Although it did have its downfalls, it was successful in the end, and it helped us recover and get back on our feet.
Interesting. I will not comment on it, but Santiago, would you like to defend the PWA?
Yes, I would like to. I'm not necessarily defending it, but
I see.
It's like I'm neutral with this. It was successful, but it wasn't in the end because it cost so much. It didn't pay.
How much did it cost?
$3.3 million.
Million? Okay.
So
That's still a lot of money.
Yeah, in Roosevelt saying that it would pay for its own revenues, it kind of seemed like it didn't,
Yeah.
So-
Perhaps it wasn't as costly, but it was. And we're back. Apologies for the technical difficulties. Budget cuts, you know. Anyways. So yes, the PWA, I will not comment on it, but you both gave your opinions on it. Right, you've both given your opinions on the WPA, on the PWA, not WPA. So now we will move on to the NRA. No, we're not talking about the National Rifle Association. We're of course talking about the National Recovery Administration. I know you like your rifles, Max. This administration was part of the first New Deal, as we come to call it. The goals of the act, simple. In the words of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the first part of the NRA proposes to our industry a great spontaneous cooperation to put millions back in their regular jobs. Now, was the NRA actually a success? It's debatable. Most businessmen adopted the NRA, meaning they were subject to the labor and price controls set in place by the government, where the government would actually set the price of certain goods. Now, there's severe drawbacks to this. Of course, artificially raising prices is severe drawbacks in the economy, so people say the industrial production statistic could be much higher if the NRA was never enacted. Just so you are aware, it was about a 22% increase to industrial production for the nation under the NRA. However, most economists say it could be higher. Companies had to hire fewer workers because of the price controls set in place, and people were unable to buy the expensive goods because the prices were so high and they were set in place by the government. And the NRA was considered unconstitutional. Other than that, in the words of Juliet Strauss, who was the chairman of the American Liberty League, the NRA has indulged in unwarranted excesses of attempted regulation. Even most people cannot dispute the 22% increase in industrial production because we do not know what would have happened if the NRA was not enacted. What do you think? Was the NRA good or bad for the Great Depression? It was already considered unconstitutional, but the president said it was a necessary step to prevent the crisis and recover the economy. Max, why don't you start us off?
I'd have to agree with the president because we were in an economic crisis back then, and we needed that, and we needed the government to step in and adjust those prices to help our economy and make everything affordable for the average American. And I think it really helped us get back into place and restabilize our economy.
Yeah, I see your point. However, I will go to Santi now, so we have both sides of the argument.
I mean, we're not in the Great Depression anymore. Nobody's, upset. Nobody's down on money. Nobody's not living. Nobody has a job. Everybody has a job now, or I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing fine because Starbucks.
Yeah, Starbucks and the sponsorship.
Mm-hmm. Buy Starbucks, guys.
Just buy Starbucks.
And
Make sure you tell them that we sent you here. Anyways.
They will always, if your cup ain't right, they'll fix it for you. Anyways, yeah, that's what I think about it.
All right.
It rebuilt our economy, like Max said, and it made us better, and now we know not to make that mistake again.
Okay. I think that's fair. I will butt in since this is the final discussion. I do not believe it was successful, and I do believe it hindered the economy. Though I do see the necessary step. The president had good intentions with the act. It was costly, and it prolonged the Great Depression by about 3 years. The economy could have recovered by 1936. However, this is all speculation by economists. For all we know, we could have never survived the Great Depression without these programs. But I will side with the economists on this one and say that the government stepping in actually hindered the Great Depression. Now, that is it for the show. Thank you, everybody. Have a good morning. It is currently very early in the morning. I will not say what time it is.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, buy Starbucks this morning. I believe that is it for the show.
And always remember, love your beverages, or let us know. We'll always make it right.
Have a good morning, everybody.
141.